Hello, this is a walkthrough for the GCSE Edexcel Paper 2, that's calculator paper, and this is taken from June 2023. There's 90 minutes to do 80 marks on this paper, so we've got a little bit more than 1 minute for every mark. Let's make a start. Zoom in. So question 1 says, write 6184 to the nearest 100. That's 6,184. To the nearest 100 means this column, we write up to this column and then we write zeros. And it could be 6,100, but because we've got the 8 here, it means we round up. So this is 6,200. Write 0.7 as a fraction. 0.7 is 7 over 10. Change 9 meters into centimeters. Well, in 1 meter, if you think about a meter ruler, we've got 100 centimeters in that. And so in 9 meters, we're going to have 9 times that. That's 900 centimeters. An algebra question for question 4. Simplify 3 times 4t. When we look at the two numbers and we multiply those, that's 3 times 4 is 12. And we'd make sure that we put the t on the end as well. Here's a list of numbers for question 5. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. One of these numbers is a multiple of 25. Which number? Okay, well, if I think about the 25 times table, I've got 25, 50, 75, 100. The only number in my 25 times table is the 100. So the answer is 100. Question 6. Shari has a fair ordinary dice. She rolls the dice once. On the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that Shari gets the number 7. Well, on a normal ordinary dice, we've only got numbers up to 6, so 7 doesn't figure, so there's absolutely no chance of getting a number 7. So we'll put an X here where the probability is 0. Next, it says for B, on the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that Shari gets an even number. Well, there are 3 even numbers. If you imagine with a dice, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3 of those numbers are even. So it's 3 out of 6. 3 out of 6 is the same as a half. So I need to put my cross in the middle there. Question 7. Here is a triangle. The triangle is accurately drawn. Measure the length of AC. So I need to measure the length from here. Hang on, let me enable my pen. I need to measure with a ruler from here to here accurately, and that means usually to 1 decimal place. Okay, and 9.3 centimeters is the answer that you should get. There's a range of values that I'll accept, so if you're 9.1 to 9.5, they would have accepted that. Next it says measure the size of angle B. That's this angle here. Now I need to put my protractor on here. I'm going to draw a little sketch of a protractor. A protractor would go something like that. It's that little half circle thing. Make sure that the line that's on the protractor and the crosshairs goes on there, and then you're going to read off, starting on the scale that starts at 0 here, round to this point here, and it's slightly more than 90 degrees. You should get a reading of 106 degrees. So the answer is 106 degrees. Okay, now moving on. So here is a different triangle, and it says QP is equal to QR. That means this side here from Q to P is equal to the side Q to R. This is a triangle with two sides the same length, and that is an isosceles triangle. They won't be too concerned about the exact spelling, but that is the correct spelling. Question 8. The diagram shows three motorway service stations P, Q and R on a map. The map has a scale of 1 centimetre equals 4 kilometres. Work out the real distance from P to R. Well, the total distance that's shown on there is from P to R is 8 plus 16. So P to R will be 8 plus 16 is 24 centimetres. So we know it's 24 centimetres, but it also tells me that the scale tells me for every centimetre it's worth 4 kilometres in real size. So I want to do 4 times by 24. And 4 times 24, we are allowed to use our calculator here, so probably I wouldn't be doing that one in my head just in case I made a mistake. And 4 times 24 is 96 kilometres in real life. Okay, question 9 is on sequences. Here are the first 5 terms of a sequence. Write down the next term of this sequence. Well, we've got to spot what the pattern is each time. So each time we're jumping up 5 here, and then 5 again, and I'll check one more. It is 5. You could check them all, but once you've done about 3, you should be okay. So I'm expecting it to jump 5 again. 23 plus 5 is 28. So the answer there is 28. Part B. Write down the ratio of the second term to the fourth term. The second term is 8. The fourth term is 18, because that's the positions they're in. And the ratio is 8 to 18. It does also say give your ratio in its simplest form. So that means just try and divide each part of the ratio by the same number. So I could half them, and that would give me 4 to 9. And now I can't divide 4 and 9 by a same number without getting a decimal. So that's simplified in its simplest form. Okay, and so my answer is 4 to 9. Question 10. This graph can be used to find the cost of parking a car in a car park for up to 12 hours. And on the graph you can see we've got number of hours along here and cost on the vertical axis. Use the graph to find the cost of parking a car for 4 hours. So I need to come along to 4 hours here, and I'm going to go up. Obviously use a ruler to help you. I haven't got one here now, and then I'm going to go across from there, and I can see that it's £6 on that scale. Second part says Justin drives into the car park at 8 in the morning, 0800 hours in the morning. When he drives out of the car park, he has to pay £9. Okay, at what time does Justin drive out of the car park? Now if we look at where £9 is, I'll use a different colour this time. If I look at where £9 is, that's between 8 and 10, that's here, that's 9, I'm going to write it on to make it really clear. If I go across and then come down, I can see that that would equate to 6 hours. So what I need to do is, I need to know that it starts at 0800 in the morning, and we want to add 6 hours to that. So 8 o'clock will take us 4 hours to get to midday at 12 o'clock, and another 2 hours will give us the full 6 hours. So it is 2 p.m. or you could write it in the 24-hour clock as 1400 hours. Okay, if you're writing it as just 2, you make sure that you put the PM on so that it's really clear. It's acceptable to just write the 24-hour clock as that without writing AM or PM. Question 11. The table shows information about the weights of the people in a hotel lift. 40 kilograms is what for one person. If one person weighed 40 kilograms, 2 people weighed 50 kilograms, 4 people weighed 60, 5 70, and 3 weighed 80, and 1 person weighed 90 kilograms. Show that the total weight of the people in the lift is less than 1200 kilograms. Well, we need to work out the totals for each category. There's one person weighing 40 kilograms, so 1 times 40 is 40 kilograms. There's 2 people weighing 50, so 2 times 50 is 100 kilograms. 4 people weighed 60, 4 times 60 is 240. We should be using our calculator to make sure we get these correct. 5 people weighed 70 kilograms, so 5 times 70 is 350 kilograms, and 3 people weighing 80 means that's 240 again, and finally 1 person weighed 90, and that is just 90. Now I need to add those up, and again you might want to do it by hand, but I would probably check it as well with a calculator. 140 plus 100 plus 240 plus 350 plus 240 plus 90 equals, and I got 1060. Okay, and just checking that I agreed with that. That is less than 1200, so I would probably write something like 1060 kilograms is less than 1200 kilograms, just to underline the fact that I've worked that out correctly. Question 12. A shape is reflected in a mirror line to give shape B, and it's asking us to excuse me a minute. So it's asking us to draw the mirror line thing. On the grid, draw the mirror line. So we've got to decide what it's been reflected through. So you probably need to put your ruler on and try and work it out. Now I would say that this corner here corresponds with this corner here. And if I join the line up between those two, that point there, so I should do that with a cross, that point there is halfway between those. If I join these two up, and I'm going to go roughly halfway between, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 diagonals there, so I want to go 2.5 diagonals, that's about there. My drawing line's not very accurate, so please use a ruler. And I could do the same for these two, drawing a line between these two, and I should get there. So my mirror line will be through those points. So that is my mirror line. You could check that with some tracing paper and make sure you agree that if you did reflect it, it ended up there. That's often a good way of checking. The next question, part B of this, is also a diagram with reflections involved. Alex is asked to reflect shape P, which is labelled, in the axis. Here is the diagram Alex draws. Okay, so that is a reflection, but he has not reflected it in the x-axis. He's reflected it in this line here. Sorry, he's reflected in the vertical axis, which is the y-axis. Okay, so you need to put something like he's reflected in the y-axis, not the x-axis. Question 13. There are 50 teachers in a school. This is 1/16 of the total number of people in the school. Work out the total number of people in the school. So 1/16 of the total equals 50. So the number of people in the school must be much bigger than that. So I'm going to take that 16 that I've divided the total by. 1/16 is the same as dividing by 16. And to work out the total number of people, I'm going to multiply the 50 by the 16. And in my calculator, 50 times by 16 equals 800 people in total. Okay, you could check that and then put in your calculator 800 times by 1/16, because your calculator will do that, and you will get 50 out as a check, but the answer is 800. Question 14. Packets of sweets are put into boxes. And we've got two boxes here. Packet has got, there's packets on the left hand side, and on the right hand side there are the boxes that the packets are put into. The packets are 80mm by 60mm by 20mm, and the box is 72 centimeters by 48 centimeters by 24 centimeters. Work out the greatest number of packets that can be put into each box. Now, the problem we've got here is that one of the packet is given in millimeters and the box is given in centimeters. So I need to convert these so that they're the same units. Now, it's going to be easier because those are quite nice numbers. There are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. So if I convert the packet, I've got 8 centimeters by 6 centimeters by 2 centimeters. And those are quite nice numbers. There's no decimals involved here. So if I think about how many packets will go along, I'm going to put them in this way. So lengthways, how many lots of 8 will go into 72? So the calculation I can do here is 72 divided by 8 centimeters. 72 divided by 8, you might know that, but best checking it on the calculator. That's 9 packets long. Okay, so I know that I can fit 9 packets of there, the way round that they've been drawn. Now, let's go deep now. If I think about the packets that we've got, these ones were 8 centimeters each one. This way we've got these are 6 centimeters deep, aren't they? And so how many 6 centimeters will go into 48 centimeters? 48 divided by 6 gives me 8 packets deep. Okay, and then tall wise, height wise, I'm going to have to put packets in this way, so they're only quite shallow, aren't they? So how many lots of 2 am I going to get? I've got 2 centimeters tall and I've got 24 centimeters to play with, so 24 divided by 2 will give me 12 packets tall. Okay, so I can have 9 along the bottom times by 8 deep times by 12 tall if I stack them all up. So 9 times 8 times 12, and I would definitely do this one on the calculator, is 864 packets. So there's 864 packets that can be put in there, and that's the answer. On to question 15. Here is a fair ordinary dice and a fair 8-sided spinner. Charlie throws the dice once and spins the spinner once. Is Charlie more likely to get a number less than 3 on the dice or a number greater than 5 on the spinner? So what's the chance of getting a number less than 3 on the dice? Less than 3 means 1 or 2. Okay, so there's 2 ways of doing that. We can get a 1 or a 2 out of 6 possible solutions on a dice. It's got 6 faces. So the chances of getting a number less than 3 on the dice is 2 out of 6. So let's just put dice there so that we're really clear. On the spinner, we want the probability of getting a number greater than 5 on the spinner. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8. So the choices are greater than 5 will be 6, 7 or 8. So that's 3 chances, but there are 8 possible outcomes on that spinner, so it's 3 over 8. Now it's difficult to compare those straight away, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fraction into my calculator. So 2 over 6 in my calculator, press equals, and then if you press the SD button, you will get, and be really careful about this, it will say 0.3 with a little dot above it. That means 0.3333, so 0.3 recurring. Okay, and that's important. On the spinner, I want to put 3 over 8 in there, equals SD gives me 0.375, and this is the biggest. 0.375 is greater than 0.3333, so he's more likely to get a number greater than 5 on a spinner. So I've written that down really wordy to make absolutely certain that I've answered the question, but it does say you've got to show all your working, which we have done here and here. Question 16. Paolo drives an average speed of 56 kilometers per hour for 1 hour 45 minutes. Work out the distance Paolo drives. Okay, so we can use the speed equal distance over time equation, which you should know. You may have used a triangle in the past. That speed is equal to distance over time, and we don't want to work out the speed, we want to work out the distance. So distance from the triangle, or by rearranging the equation, we've got distance is equal to speed times by time. So our speed is 56 kilometers per hour, and our time is 1 hour 45 minutes, or 1 3/4 hours, or in decimal format 1.75 hours. So we're going to times it by 1.75 because that's easier to put into our calculator. So 56 times by 1.75 is 98 kilometers. Notice I've used the same units as in the speed that was given there. Question 17. There are 3 cinemas, A, B and C. The mean number of seats per cinema is 380. There are 350 seats in cinema A. There are 250 seats in cinema B. Work out the number of seats in cinema C. When we work out the mean, we work out the total and divide it by the number of things. Now in this case the number of things is 3. So our mean, which is given, they've told us the mean is 380. I've got 380, the mean is equal to the total, don't know what that is, over the number of cinemas, which in this case is 3. So rearranging that, I can multiply both sides by 3. My total is equal to 380 times by 3, and 380 by 3 is 1140. So the total equals 1140. Now it tells us cinema A has got 350 seats and cinema B has got 250. So if we add up the ones that we've got 350 plus 250 plus, I don't know how many there are for C, that must total up to give 1140. So my C value, I just need to take off the 350 and the 250 from the 1140. So C is equal to 1140 minus 350 minus 250, and that will give me 1140 minus 350 minus 250. It gives me 540 seats. Question 18. Asher buys 180 cans of cola. That's a lot of cola. The cans are sold in packs. There are 12 cans in each pack, and each pack costs £3. Work out the total cost of the cola Asher buys. Well, if she buys 180 cans and there's 12 cans in each pack, 180 divided by 12 will tell us how many packs. Okay, so 180 divided by 12 is 15 packs that we need to buy. And each pack costs £3. So the total cost of those 15 packs is 15 times £3, and that will be £45 altogether. Ethan buys a box of 24 cans of lemonade for £7. There are 330 millilitres of lemonade in each can. Work out the cost of 100 millilitres of lemonade. Give your answer correct to the nearest penny. So if we got 24 cans and 24 cans in total and 330 millilitres in each can, the total amount, total volume of lemonade is equal to 24 lots of 330, and that is, calculating on my calculator again because that's a difficult calculation, is 7,920 millilitres of lemonade altogether, and the cost is £7. So we're working out the cost. It wants it to the nearest penny, so let's do 700 pence, because that'll be easier to deal with, won't it? And 7,920 divided by let me think how we're going to do this. Divided by sorry, I'm just having a bit of brain freeze at the moment. So we've got, let's recap what we're doing then. We've got 7,920 millilitres of stuff, and it cost us £7. Okay, and we were trying to get it down to 100 millilitres, aren't we? So if I divide, £7 or 700 pence by 7920, so let's work that out, 700 divided by 7920, that will give me 0.0883, and it's recurring here, so that means 8383, but that's per milliliter, and we want 100 times that. We want it per 100 milliliters. So if I times that by 100, times by 100, that will give me 8.838383. It's got the two dots above it if you've not rounded when you worked out this one here. So the cost per 100 millilitres to the nearest penny is 9 pence per 100 millilitres. Bit complicated to get your head around. I got a little bit confused there, so don't worry if you were a little bit confused. Maybe go back over it if you didn't quite understand. Question 19. 240 people work at a factory. Of these people, one have a car. 110 have a bicycle. 65 of the people who have a bicycle do not have a car. Use the information to complete the frequency tree. So let's go through. We know there's 240 people altogether because it says so here. But of those, 150 people have a car. There's 150 people. It says 110 people have a bicycle. That's this one here. So 110 people have a bicycle in total. That means this one and this one, this is have a bicycle, must add up to 110. So I can't really use that at the moment, but it also says 65 of the people who have a bicycle do not have a car. So that's not easy to put in either. However, well, let's see what we've got that we can use now. We know there's 240 people in total. If 150 have a car, 250 take away 150 will tell us how many people don't have a car. That's 90 people. So 90 needs to go in there. Now, 65 of the people who have a bicycle do not have a car. 65 of the people who do not have a bicycle. So do not have a bicycle is, let's just rub these out until we're really clear about which ones. Do not have a bicycle is this one and this one. Okay, 65 of the people who do not have a bicycle, who have a bicycle, okay, who do not have a car. Sorry, I've got that the wrong way around. So 65 of the people who have a bicycle, that one and that one, don't have a car. So it's only this one here, because these ones have a car, don't have a car. So 65 of the people who have a bicycle do not have a car. That's right, isn't it? And it says altogether that 110 people have a bicycle. Well, 110 people, take away the 65 who also do not have a car, that's this one, will leave me with 45 people in this bit here, because these two asterisk ones must add up to 110. Okay, so we've got most of the information down now. Looking at the top branch, there's 150 people here, 45 are here, So 105, that's 150 take away 45 will go in there, and 90 take away 65 will give me 25 there. Okay, a bit complicated that. I think you need to probably read it several times to sort it out, because you might get it back to front like I did at one point now. Then it's asking me a question about the table that we've just done. It says, what percentage of the 150 people who have a car also have a bicycle? I'm going to change colours now just to make sure we don't get confused about what I'm saying. So we only really need the diagram there. What percentage of the 150 people who have a car also have a bicycle? So 45 people have a bicycle out of the 150 people. Okay, that's a fraction. There are 45 people who have a bicycle out of the 150 people who have a car. So that's not, though, that's a fraction, it's not a percentage. So to turn a fraction into a percentage, I need to times by 100, and then I'm going to work that, I'm going to put that exactly into my calculator. 45 over 100. Be careful that you use the arrow button so that it looks exactly like I've written there. Times it all by 100, and that should give you 45 as your answer. Percent. Is that correct? Have I done that right? 45 divided by 150 times by 100. I think I did a typo. Yes, I did a typo in there. I didn't spot that. It just didn't look right. So I put 100 at the bottom by accident. So make sure that what you've written down is exactly what you've put in your calculator. So that will give you 30%. Question 20. Work out the value of, and it's given us a calculation, and then it says write down all the figures on your calculator display. So you've got to make sure that what you put in your calculator looks exactly like there is there. Now I'll talk you through what it's like on my calculator, though this is a Casio ClassWiz one that I'm using. I first of all will press the fraction button, and it now gives me a blank fraction, and at the top where the indicator's flashing at the start, I'm going to put 25 minus, and then I'm looking for the square root button, which looks like that, usually with a little square in that. I'm going to press that, and then I'm going to enter inside that 43.87. Okay, so we've filled in the top part. I just need to fill the bottom part in now. So I use the navigate buttons, the top and middle, and I go to the bottom so I can see the cursor flashing at the bottom. Now I'm going to type in 6 plus, and then 2.1, and then I'm looking for the squared button, which looks like that. Okay, so I'm looking for the x squared button, and then it should look as it does in the question. Once I'm happy that that all looks exactly the same and I haven't done any typos, I press equals, and it should come up with 1.76527923. Now your calculator may slow slightly more or slightly less than that, but that will be sufficient to show everything on my calculator display. Part B says work out the value, nothing to do with the first part. It says work out the value of the reciprocal of 0.625. Now the reciprocal just means 1 over the number that you've been given. So 1 over 0.625, and again I need to use my calculator, fraction button, 1 at the top, go to the bottom, put in 0.625. It looks exactly the same as it does what I've written down. Press equals, and it came out with 8 over 5, but I probably want a decimal, so I press the SD button and it comes out as 1.6. Okay, let's save that, move on. Question 21. We're getting quite close to the end of the paper now, so We can almost relax a little bit. Write 60 as a product of its prime factors. So for this, I need to draw a factor tree. I start with the 60 at the top and I draw an upside down tree. So I've got two branches coming off. I want two numbers that multiply to give me 60. Now I've got, I'm going to think 6 and 10. Now you don't necessarily have to choose those two. There are other choices to start, but you should still end up with the same number at the end. Now what I'm looking for, because it's asking for prime factors. Okay, so the prime numbers you need to know are the numbers that only divide by 1 on themselves, and they do not include 1. So 2, 3, 5, 7, not 9 because that divides by 3. Notice that 2 is the only even number in this. 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, and that's more than ample to be able to do this. Okay, so 6 and 10, are either of those numbers prime numbers? Do they appear in the list at the top? No, they don't. So I take 6 first of all, and I put another set of branches, another pair of branches below 6. I want two numbers that multiply to give 6. That's 2 times by 3. There is really only one choice. I could do 3 times 2, but it doesn't really matter. Both of those are prime numbers. Once we hit a prime number, we circle it and we stop. If I've hit a prime number, I don't go any further with that number. Back across to the 10, that's not a prime number, so we need to continue with that. And the only choice I've got is 2 times 5 or 5 times 2. So I'm going to put 2 and 5. Both of those numbers again are prime numbers, so I'm circling them both. Now, as a product of its prime factors, 60 equals all those numbers multiplied together. So 2 times by 2 times by 3 times by 5. I've stuck mine in size order, but that's acceptable as it is. There are 48 counters in a bag. This is question 22. 48 counters in a bag. There are only red counters and blue counters. Okay, red and blue. 48. Number of red counters to the number of blue counters is 1 to 2. Helen has to work out how many red counters are in the bag. She says there are 24 red counters in the bag because 1 is half of 2 and 24 is half of 48. Is Helen correct? Well, she's not correct, but let's write down what we would do if we've got a ratio of red to blue, 1 to 2. When we've got a ratio, we always add up the parts of the ratio. The total is 3, and so what we want to do is we're going to take the 48 counters and divide it by 3, and 48 divided by 3 would give us 16 per part. So in fact, to get 48 counters in there, reds will be 1 times 16, which is 16, and 2 times 16 would be 32. So she's not correct. So not correct should be 32. Okay, so she's divided by 2 instead of dividing by 3. Okay, so her reasoning is not correct. Question 23. Okay, it says n is greater than or equal to -2 and less than 5. Write down the greatest possible value of n, and n, it says, has to be an integer. Now an integer is just a whole number. Okay, so the greatest possible value of n means it's got to be less than 5. Okay, and it can't be 5, so the next one down from 5 would be 4, and none of the other numbers would be bigger than 4. None of the other whole numbers that apply to this, because they all have to be less than 5, and 4 is the next one up. So next one down rather. On the number line, show the inequality m is greater than or equal to -4 and less than 1. Okay, so the numbers are going to be between 1 and -4, but they could be equal to -4. So we put a circle coloured in for -4 because that includes -4, and then less than 1 means it does not include 1, so we need to put a circle above 1, and then we need to join that with a straight line using a ruler. Okay, so now we've drawn the inequality. Question C, a little bit harder because we've got the last, is this the last question on the paper? No, there's a bit more yet, but we're getting towards the end of this question. It says 2/5 of G minus 4 is less than 6. Okay, now when we're solving inequalities, we treat it just like we would when we've got an equal sign in there. So if this was an equal sign instead, what we would do is we would rearrange and try and get G on its own, and this is no different, but we leave the less than sign in there. So the first thing to get rid of is that minus 4 by adding 4 to both sides. So adding 4 to both sides leaves me with 2/5 G, minus 4 plus 4 cancel, so that's just less than, and then 6 add 4 will give me 10. Okay, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to divide by, this is 2/5 times by G, so we're going to divide by 2/5, and we're going to divide the other side also by 2/5. So 2/5 G divided by 2/5 leaves G, and 10 divided by 2/5, this is where I'm going to use the calculator, being careful. So I've got 10 divide fraction 2/5. Make sure it looks like this in your calculator so that you get the correct value. Press equals, and that should be 25. So the final answer is G is less than 25. Question 24, and this is the last question, I believe. Am I right? Is there another one? No, there's more yet. Okay, so there's quite a few questions still to go, 3 or 4 more to go. Here is a triangle and a rectangle. All measurements are in centimetres. The area of the triangle is 10 centimetres squared greater than the area of the rectangle. Okay. Work out the value of x. So, if I was working out the area of the triangle, we've got, for a triangle, we've got area equals half of the base times by the height. And in this case, the area is equal to half times by 6x, sorry, base I should put in first, so half times 8 times by 6x. And I can simplify that further. Half of 8 is 4, and the 4 times 6x will give me 24x. So the area of the triangle is equal to 24x. Let's put a little t there so that we distinguish it. Okay, and for a rectangle, area is just base times height. So the area here is equal to 5 times by, and be careful here, I've got to put that in brackets, 4x minus 1. So 5 times 4x is 20x, and 5 times -1 is -5. So the area of the rectangle is 20x minus 5. Now it says the area of the triangle is 10 centimeters squared greater than the area of the rectangle. Okay, so if I take the area of the triangle, I would have to add and also the area of the rectangle. I would have to add an extra 10 centimeters to the area of the rectangle to make it the same size as the area of the triangle, because this one, the area of the rectangle, is smaller and the area of the triangle is bigger. So I'm going to write down the areas that I've given, the 24x. So 24x is the area of the triangle, and that equals the area of the rectangle, 20x minus 5, plus an extra 10. Let me just come down the page a little bit. Now I've got to try and solve that equation. So first of all, I'm going to tidy it up a little bit, because I can deal with a negative 5 and 10. So 24x is equal to 20x minus 5 plus 10 is plus 5. I'm going to take the x's all to the left hand side. That means I've got to take 20x off both sides to get rid of this 20x here. So minus 20x on both sides. 20x on the right hand side will make that disappear, so we're left with just 5, and 20x off 24x, 24 minus 20 is 4x, so 4x is equal to 5, so x is equal to 5 over 4, which is 1.25. Question 25. Last year, a family recycled 800 kilograms of household waste. 57% of this waste was paper and glass. The weight of paper recycled to the weight of glass recycled equals 12 to 7. So they've given us a ratio there, and it wants us to calculate the weight of glass the family recycled. So let's take the first point here. We've got 800 kilograms of household waste, and 57% of it was paper and glass. So 57%, that's 57 out of 100, of 800 tells us how much paper and glass we had in kilograms. So 57 over 100 times by 800 gives me 456 kilograms of paper. 456, I didn't write 456 there, did I? 456 kilograms of paper and glass. And then we're going to say the weight of paper to the weight of glass is 12 to 7. So paper to glass is 12 to 7. Now with the ratio, we're going to add the parts. 12 plus 7 is 19. And then we're going to take the 456 kilograms and I'm going to divide it by the 19. And that gives me 456 divided by 19 is 24 kilograms per part. And we want to calculate the weight of glass. So that was 7 parts. So I want 7 times by 24. 7 by 24 is 168 kilograms of glass. And that has answered the question. Question 26. A number D is rounded to 1 decimal place. The result is 12.7. Complete the error interval for D. Now if it's rounded to 1 decimal place, below it is 12.6, then 12.7, and then up to 12.8. So if I think about that as a line, these are the choices to 1 decimal place. Let's change colour a little bit. Just come down a little bit to give me a bit of space. And to round to 12.7, we're going to be halfway in between. Okay, anything that side will go to 12.6, anything that side will go to 12.8. So the error interval is at the halfway point. That's 12.65, and that one is 12.75, and that is my error interval. So just let me go back. In my answer, I need to write 12.65 and 12.75. Question 27. Tasmin buys a house with a value of £150,000. The value of Tamsin's house increases by 4% each year. Okay. Rachel buys a house with a value of £160,000. The value of Rachel's house increases by 1.5% each year. At the end of 2 years, whose house has the greater value? You must show how you get your answer. Now this is compound increases because it's increasing by the new amount each year. So for compound, what I'm going to do for each person is the same, but obviously my numbers are different. So Tamsin, it's 150,000 times by, and I've got to find the multiplier for 4%. Well, we're increasing the original 100% by 4% to get 104%. So that means my multiplier is a decimal 1.04, which is equivalent to 104%. For Rachel, that's Tamsin, Rachel, she's got 1.5%, so 100% original plus 1.5% gives me, I'm going to write here, 101.5%. Now my multiplier there, the decimal version of that, is shifting it 2 decimal places or dividing by 100, 1.015. So I've got 2 multipliers, one for Tamsin and one for Rachel. So for Tamsin, I've got 150,000 times by the multiplier 1.04, and then the number of years this increase is going to happen, which is 2, is the power. So I need to type that into my calculator, 150,000 times by 1.04 to the power, that's the x squared button, a power of 2, and that will give me 162,240. Okay, so that's one answer. And then for, let's get rid of that. For Rachel, we started off with a value of 160,000, and our multiplier was 1.015, and I need to do that for 2 years, so that's the power of 2 as well. And multiplying that out, 123 times by 1.015 squared, because it's the power of 2, and that equals 164,836. Let's just check that I've got that correct. Yep, I agree with those values when I check them. And so it says at the end of the 2 years, whose house has the greater value? So we can see that Rachel's is worth more, so I need to write that down. Rachel's house is worth more. It's important to show you working, but we've done that here, and I've underlined the final value for each, so it's really clear to see, but I need that final statement just to make sure I get the marks. Okay. Question 28, and here are 5 graphs. Okay, and you can see they're not, most of them are curved. We've got 2 straight line graphs, and we've got to decide which equation in the table, this table, relates to each equation. Okay, so looking at the first one, y equals x squared minus 4x. Well, y equals x squared would look like that of some form. If I then take away 4x, it's still going to be in roughly that form, but it's going to change its shape slightly and move it. Well, the only one that looks like that is this one here. So B is y equals x squared minus 4x. Y equals x plus 3. Well, y equals x would look like that, okay, on the x-axis, and plus 3 would just shift this up. Okay, it's got a positive gradient. There's only one straight line graph with a positive gradient, and that's this one. So that one is D. Y equals x cubed minus 2. X cubed will look like that. Okay, so I'm looking for a graph that looks like that. All that's happened with the minus 2 bit is it shifted the graph down 2 places. So the only one that looks a bit like a curvy S or a backwards S is this one here. So that one must be E. Y equals 1 over x is a reciprocal graph. Okay, and it's this one here. Okay, might not be able to spot that one, but it's the only one that is correct. But you can do it by a process of elimination. So that one is C, because the next one, if I rewrite y equals 5 minus 2x in the normal format where we've got the x bit first, we've got y equals negative 2x plus 5. Now that's a straight line graph with a negative gradient. There is only one straight line graph with a negative gradient, and that is A. And now we have actually reached the end of the paper. So when you get to that point, hopefully you've got a bit of time left over. We've probably taken a little bit more than an hour, but we've got another 20 minutes at least. So we could go back and make sure that you have attempted every question, and just read through and make sure you've answered the question that they've asked and not a slightly different one. But take your time, and well done.